Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander. We are live here from the Hawkeye of the Storm as the platform, and we got about 215 plus as people continue to stream into the live chat here, looking for a recap of a game, the final game of the season on Big Ten Plus. So we can all applaud that.
It was a great one.
It was a good one. It was a good performance.
The best one.
Probably their best performance on Big Ten Plus. And we'll get to the ins and outs of this one. It was quite an offensive spree from the Hawks in that first half that really was too much to overcome, even for a feisty bunch of Wolverines that Kachine very easily could have mailed it in that third quarter. They did not, got it back to single digits, but ultimately it was too much. It was led by Sydney Falter, who, if we had an official sponsored player of the game tonight, it would be Sydney Falter. Man, she is on a different wavelength from all of us. She had 24 points, 9 of 12 from the field, 4 of 4 from three. And then right after the barrage we saw from Sydney in that first half, Lucy was like, all right, I'm going to get mine now. 20 points, 8 of 16 from the field. She was 4 of 6 from three. And I guess let's start with the three-point shooting, because look at that number on the bottom of the screen. 83% from three in the first half. All right. Now, I understand what you're saying. You're probably thinking, well, 80, how many did they actually make? Well, I've got the number here. In that first half, Iowa made exactly 9. I can't do my math right. 9 3-pointers in the first half alone. And Kachine, what's interesting, we are going to be joined by Kyle Huseman, HawkeyeReport.com here in just a minute. We're going to get his expertise, his input on this. But we talked early in the year, especially during the non-con, about how this team, three-point shooting was not a strength. It did not appear that it was going to become a strength. Now, I think caveat here is Sydney Falter was coming off injury. She did not look comfortable in basically anything she was doing. She was a better three-point shooter second half of last season. But all of a sudden, you have a totally different, like Lucy Olson's you can tell her confidence went from a red light to green light. It's a totally different shooter from three that we're seeing from Lucy Olson. So that's one. Mm-hmm. And then Sydney Falter is a totally different player than she was. Some of that may be the physical side of things, but I also think the mental side of things is associated there. Just talk about how Iowa's become all of a sudden, at least the numbers say they're a pretty good three-point shooting team.
Yeah, I think we finally got McCabe going a little bit too. I think that also helped. And Sydney finally is starting to find a rhythm and starting to end the season kind of like she ended the season last season. So I feel like that's a good place. And Lucy's finally feeling comfortable, like we said that the last couple games, actually. So, but overall, I feel like confidence is key to knocking down shots at the end of the day. And it's coming at a good time. Like I said before, we're like going this way. Although, we might have dropped 2. Those were against 2 top 10 kind of teams. So I'm okay with that in that aspect. So, I think overall this is a good sign. And, that's a good Michigan team at the end of the day. So
this could have easily been a game where, okay, you've played well. And Sydney Falter brought that up in her post-game interview there with the Big Ten Plus sideline reporter. They've played well and lost to good teams, as you said. This easily could have been a game against a good Michigan team where you come in, you get a little disappointed with just not getting W's over the last week, and you drop a third straight. And all of a sudden you're like, okay, we're coming back home. We got one more game against a bad Wisconsin team. How are we going to get momentum back before the postseason? So in a sense, you can look at it from that perspective and say this was a big game. And they jumped on them early. And that's another thing that I think has stood out in my mind is these quick starts. I mean, Iowa's just getting off to quick starts against everyone. What's the key there? Has there been a common denominator?
I don't know if there's a common denominator. I think defensively is probably where we thrive at the beginning of those games. Like we're getting stopped. So we're able to get out and run. We're able to get easy buckets. We're able to do some of those things. We're not playing a half court game at the beginning of those games.
However, let me insert. Let me just say this. They have been stellar defensively in first quarters of games all the way going all the way back to November. Because remember all those games Kansas and Drake, they were holding
people to 4 points, things like that. Yes.
So that was happening early in the year, and they've maintained that throughout. And now the offense has come along as the season's wore on.
Yep, I agree.
Ava Hayden played tonight, and she was good.
Thank God I was yelling at my TV.
So
it just wasn't. It was not. Listen, this was not a game. Now, again, I knew that they didn't have any post players. I didn't know they were playing 5 guards. I know they had that in their arsenal, but it seemed like that was their game plan in order to, I guess, best suit us, if that makes sense. But the problem is that once Hannah gets out or if she gets in foul trouble or something else, our next option is rightfully so Addison. However, she could not guard them. She could not do anything of the sort. And although it's like, okay, we'll have them guard us, the only way that you could play Addison in that game is if you were playing a zone. Because then on the offensive side, you could use her to her advantage, right? Because she's a lot bigger. She's probably going to have her way down there with the smaller guard. But it wasn't working on that end. So I was like, okay, the only other option you got, let's give Ava a shot because she's at least more agile than Addison is, and she'll be able to at least stay with them. She may not get beat off the dribble as easily. And so I was like, okay, this is a flip-flop game, or at least is what I call it. Like in the sense of this is not the game for Addison. Ava's our second up. And then lo and behold, exactly what I hoped happened. Because she was able, this is her game. She was able to strive in regards to matchups.
Do you foresee ever a situation where Iowa in a matchup like this, where a team is truly going small ball against you, where you see Sydney Falter slide over and play the 5?
I don't know. I don't know if that would mess us up.
I just wondered about that tonight because if anybody's going to be able to do that, she's already playing, the 4.
Yeah, she might be able to do that defensively. I think offensively that stops her because she's not a back-to-the-back kind of person. Yeah. And I don't know if we have a 5-out offense. So that's the only thing that would stop me from doing that. I would much rather play Ava or Hannah in that case. And if I had to play Addison in this type of game, then I would have to go zone for the sake of our offense.
I love this comment from Pat. I've never heard this. The Hayden Knights are going to be out in force in the chat tonight.
Sure even you said it. That's the second and third is depends on the matchup. Depends on the games. It depends on everything. It depends on all of that. Addison's still my second choice to start. You know what I'm saying? But if she ain't cutting it, she ain't cutting it, or it's not the right matchup for her. Why put her in a bad situation? That doesn't make sense. So this ain't for her. You take a seat. And like I said, we are fortunate to have a third post player who's as talented as Ava. That does not happen. That normally does not happen. You get two. That's it. Third is a big drop off.
Not to revert back to a conversation we had a few days ago, but with what we saw tonight matchup, now it's a different situation, but you could have argued that Ava may have been useful against UCLA's big the other night, right? I know you were against it. We don't need to rehash that, but
I watched her tonight again because I was like, you know what? Maybe let me just look at her, and she was still getting pushed around. So I was like, yeah, that kid's nowhere even near strong as Bess. So I was like, okay, yeah, that might have been an issue. Now, offensively, she probably would have been able to hold her own. I'm not saying that, but I do still think defensively she would have got.
But we can agree she would have been able to front better than Addie could have.
Yeah, it's just I said that. Yes, I do believe that. But Addison, like I said, was also playing well on her in regards to what the rest of the four people were doing.
And the other difference the other night was Addison was scoring early.
She was in it. So you can't not take her out.
Not do that tonight. At no point.
No, absolutely not. This was not her game.
There is I know people want to look at one end, but Addison gave them nothing offensively tonight. And I mean, can I just say this? This team does miss a lot of layups, don't they?
All the time.
Is that just them, or is this happening across the sport?
Maybe I should start watching that for other people. Man, I don't really pay attention to other teams in depth like that because I'm not really like scouting them, if that makes sense. So you know what? I'm gonna think about that next time I watch some basketball.
And it seems like Hannah Stolke's really got a problem with layups.
She's struggling right now. Yeah. She is going like this.
Yeah, that's a concern there. There's a concern. 100%. It's good to see her make free throws tonight. She's 5 of 6.
That is a positive.
She was trending up early in the year, and then so 5 of 6 is a good sign for her. Let's add in our good friend Kyle Heisman, HawkeyeReport.com, who's with us. Kyle, you listened to the first few minutes of our conversation here on this win, and obviously a big one for the resume. We'll talk about the big picture as they head back home to finish off the regular season against Wisconsin this weekend. But I guess we'll start with Ava Heiden because I know that's going to be a hot topic. Post-game, her contributions gave him 6 points and some solid minutes in a game in which Addison O'Grady struggled a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I thought she did a good job. I mean, it's always tough when you sit on the bench for a stretch of games and you don't get to play. That when your name does get called on, that's like your chance you've got to come in and you've got to produce, because if Ava Heiden doesn't come, or if she comes in tonight and misses a couple of layups and has a couple of fouls like she had earlier in the year, that's not a great showing when you're getting called on every couple of games. But she came in today, 6 minutes, had 6 points, 3 of 5 shooting. I thought she did a good job, and those baskets seemed to come kind of right in that stretch where Michigan was getting back into the game. So Iowa's offense was trying to find its way just a little bit. And I thought those baskets, all 3 of them, came at a really important time. I thought she did as well of a job as you can do in 6 minutes. I thought it was like you guys said, Addie O'Grady just didn't have it tonight when she's had it some other nights recently. Addie O'Grady goes for 7 minutes. Ava Heiden goes for 6 minutes. And I thought Ava did a good job in her short stint.
Kachine, what happened in that third quarter that got Michigan back in this game that wasn't working in the first?
We stopped being for Michigan or us? I'm sorry.
Both.
I think for us, we stopped being aggressive. Like even Sydney and Falter, she stopped being aggressive. Like, what happened? I need you to still be aggressive. Go to the rim. Like, do exactly what you were doing before. It's almost like we kind of were like, we took our foot off the gas. And you could see that on offense, defense, everything. We just kind of relaxed. And Michigan came out with fight. They were like, nope, we can do this. We can come back. I'm sure their coach was in there saying, hey, plenty of teams have come back on Iowa. If you guys stick together, you can do this. I'm sure that's what she was saying in, their halftime locker room. But I think for Michigan, some of their 3 started to fall. Start with that. First half was horrible for that. So I think their 3 started to fall. They started to be a lot more scrappier on defense. They were turning us over. I think, what did we have? We had to have had double-digit turnovers in the second half.
Well, 15 for the game.
Oh, yes.
11 in the second half.
Yeah.
Because I know we had 4 at halftime, and I was like, oh, okay.
To your point, what you said about the threes was really the big thing. If you look at the box score, I mean, Iowa shot 6 of 16 in the third. Michigan was 9 of 16. The difference was they made 4 threes and Iowa made 1. And some of that is, I mean, Iowa shot so well from 3 in the first half that 1 of 5 in the third quarter wasn't surprising. Like, if they come out and hit 4 or 5 from 3 in the third quarter, that would have been like, all right, guys, what's actually – because that would have been like, what, 13, 14 threes at that point. So I wasn't surprised that Iowa started to miss a couple, and then Michigan, it's just kind of one of those where Michigan didn't shoot it great in the first half. Iowa shot it really well. So it kind of came back to earth for both sides a little bit. But yeah, I thought maybe, Iowa's lead got up to like 21 there in the third quarter. Maybe just relax just a little bit, getting that lead up there. And like you said, Michigan wanted to come out in the third quarter and try to make a comeback. You don't want to get blown out on your home floor. I mean, we saw Iowa do it against Maryland earlier this year. They were getting blasted at halftime, and they made a run. So no team wants to get blown out on their home floor. So it wasn't surprising to see Michigan go on a run. But to Iowa's credit, I mean, it got close there. I mean, what did it get? Did it get down to 4 points, or was it 6?
6.
And to Iowa's credit, I mean, that was like a 17-4 run. They answered it very well in the fourth quarter, and then it got back up to almost 20 again. So I thought Iowa did a good job of handling that adversity that kind of got thrown at them there. When they hadn't handled it well earlier in the year, they lost a couple late. They hadn't given up a lead quite that big, I don't believe. But yeah, I thought Iowa did a good job of late of being able to turn the tides back in their favor, hit some shots again, and then we're able to close out the win.
One thing that I think should be noted, when a team shoots as well as Iowa did, especially in that first half, but really for the game, you look at the numbers, they were good even with a dip in that second half. It's easy to look at it and say, well, it's a bit of an outlier, a one-off, a fluke. But the people that did it in that first half, Sydney Falter and Lucy Olson, we've been talking about them, and they're trending upwards, especially as it relates to their three-point shooting, both of them. And now Sydney's also attacking around the rim and finishing. And I thought there was an and one she should have gotten late in the game that she wasn't awarded with. But, I mean, she was phenomenal, 24 points, and that's got to be near a career high.
It is. Her career high was 18.
Okay. So
she
that's
tied
a
it
high
first
for
half.
her. So congratulations to her. And then, again, Lucy just continues to shoot the three-point shot at an unbelievable clip. At least in Big Ten play. I don't know what she is in Big Ten play. Maybe you have that, Kyle. But, she was not shooting the ball well through the first half of her year here. And all of a sudden, the switch has flipped on. How do you explain that, Kachine?
You don't? I mean,
I just think she just got comfortable, right?
Yeah, like you just get comfortable.
Offense and everything. And, yeah.
And there was confidence comes behind that. Like, if you start to believe that you can shoot that,
it certainly helps when you put up 23 points in the second half against USC, and then you go, USC's pretty good. I just kind of won us that game. I can do this at Iowa. Yeah, that was the game that kind of flipped the switch. And yeah, when you put up 23 points in the second half against the then number 4 team in the country with Juju Watkins, you go, I can play on this level. I am a Big Ten level basketball player.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up her stats because there was a game, and I'm trying to think of the game away. It couldn't have been USC, at least in my mind, because
Nebraska, she had 32.
Maybe it was there was a game where I remember Iowa was down, couldn't shoot, couldn't do anything, and she just started jacking threes, and I've never seen her do that. And she made 1 or 2 deep shots, and I feel like I have to go back and trace this, but it feels like since that moment, a switch flipped on. So, I mean, we can all, maybe pinpoint different moments, but hopefully this is something that now translates into March success. We have talked about in the past, people like Gabby Marshall that seemed to be able to turn it on as the season went on, especially as you got into February and March. And is there a key to doing that besides just letting it fly? And, I mean, is confidence sort of one of those things that just comes naturally, Kachine? You can't really breed it.
No, confidence comes for a few different reasons, but it comes from you getting in the gym. That's 1. And then 2, playing well. Like, you just are ready for the next thing. You know what it feels like, how it feels. And it's almost like an addiction at some point.
You guys were talking about Iowa's 3-point shooting. Corey, you brought it up about how early in the year we were talking about, you talk about preseason, we were talking about where's the 3-point shooting going to come from. We knew Taylor McCabe, and then when the season started, it was Taylor's hitting a few, but Sita Fulter wasn't. Lucy wasn't. Kylie had hit a few early in the year. But I think the big thing now is obviously Sita Fulter has been shooting incredible from 3-point range, but Lucy Olson is now. You mentioned it. I don't know what she is over the last how many games since USC, but I would assume that she's right around 35-40%, which is what she shot as a sophomore at Villanova. And I said before the season, I said if she can get back to that level, she doesn't need to make 5 threes a game like Caitlin did. But if she can get back to that shooting 35-36%, that's enough for her to be a really dangerous threat from 3-point range. And then you add in the fact that she can get to the rim and the fact that she can get to the mid-range. That's what makes her such a dangerous player. And she's shooting like that right now. I mean, tonight, that's what opens up her game. When she is a threat to hit 4 threes in a game, you saw it against Nebraska when she was able to hit a couple of threes early. And then it was like, well, I can get to the rim now because they've got to come out on me on the 3-point line. So I think that's the thing that's really changed with her, is just being able to hit a few more threes and make that a more, a bigger threat in her game, that teams actually have to get out on her and say, hey, last game she did hit 4 threes against Michigan, rather than being like, she hasn't hit much at all lately. We're just going to let her shoot a couple. But Sita Fulter, I mean, good. I have not seen her. I mean, we saw her in the postseason last year have a couple of good games. I've never seen her play like that. That first half, never seen her play anything close to that. And I'm gonna take some credit here. If people that read my game preview, I put Sita Fulter as the player to watch. I said she's going to get a couple of spot up threes and she's going to make a couple. I said she's going to get her 6 double. So,
well, I'll say this. I don't know this. I go back and I brought up the game. Go back to the Maryland. I think that was the game where I noticed it. She went 4 of 7 from 3. I'm talking about Lucy against Maryland. And that was on the cusp of 0 for 4 in the previous game and 0 for 4 in the game before that. She was 0 for 8 in the previous 2 games. She goes 4 of 7 in a game where they were struggling offensively, Kyle. And I believe that might have been the one where she started jacking shots and a few of them fell. And I just wonder, I'd like to I might do that this week, tabulate the stats for her and Sydney Fulter since about the same point, because this has been a totally different night and day as it relates to 3-point shooting. And Kachine brought up Taylor McCabe. She's been good from 3 all year, but they've been able to get her a few more shot attempts. So her percentages have been good all year. She doesn't force shots. It's sort of like Gabby Marshall in that regard. Doesn't force shots.
It's kind of similar to Sita Fulter, too. All 3 of them, Taylor, Sid, and Gabby Marshall, aren't going to shoot bad 3-pointers because they can't create their own 3, really. So they're not going to shoot a bad 3 because it's just going to if they shoot a bad 3, it's going to get blocked back into their
Sydney
face.
Fulter's got a really slow.
Correct. So she's never going to shoot. She's never going to shoot a bad 3 because a bad 3 would just be like someone in their face, and she would never be able to get that off. Gabby Marshall's similar. Her 3-point shot took a little bit more to get it off. And Taylor McCabe has a quick trigger, but she's just not someone that can shoot it off the dribble. So those 3, they never shoot a bad 3 because they just have to be. They either have to be catch and shoot, which is only going to be an open 3. So I think that's why you generally see Taylor and Sid shoot a little bit better percentage, and Gabby as well, just because they're generally open when they're getting their looks because they don't force 3s.
Kachine, I want to ask you about Kylie, because I thought Kylie was really active on defense, as she always is. I kept flashing back during the game to your comments the other night that she needs to accept her role, at least on offense, as a role player and not force shots. She went 0 for 2 from 3, but she did have a couple of nice finishes inside, but it seemed overall to play a bit within herself. She wasn't. I didn't see as many maybe out of control type of play. She made a really nice steal and score second half, I think third quarter, when their backs were up against the wall. What did you see from the ISU transfer?
Yeah, I think this might have been one of the first games that I can remember, at least, where I felt like you said, she played within her role. She kind of knows that how she can help this team and become a factor is on the defensive end, and offensively, she's more of a facilitator / when you have an open opportunity, take it kind of thing. If it's an open 3, if it's an easy drive to the basket, something like that, I don't mind. But I think that she, I'm not going to say she found her role just yet because it's one game. So, but that is what I've been talking about for her, at least.
And I said it a couple of games ago. I think I think for Kylie Feuerbach, she doesn't have to be even an 8 to 10 point score, but every 3 games, if she can, hit a 3 every couple of games or have 8 points in a game here, there, she's had a couple here in the second half of the season where she's put up, 12 in a game or 13 in a game. I think just being that type of threat, so that way you're still on the offensive scouting report for the other team, and then she can just be consistent on the defensive end, which she has been. And then tonight, 4 assists, finished with 4 turnovers, but 3 of those came in the fourth quarter, kind of late there when Michigan was forcing some mistakes. But I thought she shared the ball well, and as Corey mentioned, she had a couple of tough finishes around the basket. But yeah, just that she doesn't need to be anything more than, like you said, just that player that when the opportunity is there, you don't have to create an opportunity if you're a Kylie Feuerbach, but if the lane is there to drive to the hoop, because she can do that. If you have an open 3, shoot it, because you can shoot that, but you don't need to force a drive. You don't need to force a 3 up, because her role out there is being the defensive player that's going to rattle the other team's best player and force a couple of turnovers. And I think she's done that pretty well for the most part over the second half of the season.
All right, Robert says, I don't know what this is. Is she singing a song? Is that what's going on here? It's prime time. You got to shake off those workman blues. Said it's prime time. You better put on your dancing shoes because they're alive and well and ready. Are you ready for the great big girls? Listen, I'm going to
March Madness. I don't know.
I don't know, but Amanda says, beautiful hair tonight. Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate that. Oh, no, I don't mean Corey's hair. She must mean Kyle's hair. Kyle, what a compliment from Amanda. What a beautiful compliment. Take that. Thank you, Amanda.
Very well done.
Folks, if you're interested in calling in and being a part of the show,
Thanks,
or writing some comments, 515-635-16. I don't know what you're thinking here about. 515-635-1601, or you can click the StreamYard link in the description of this video. Again, the Hawkeyes defeating the Michigan Wolverines in Ann Arbor, 79-66. And we saw several players in double figures for the Hawkeyes, 2 of which scored 20+. Sydney Falter with her 24 and 11, a big-time performance, an efficient 9 of 12 from the field day, 4 of 4 from 3, and a double-double, also added 3 assists. Lucy Olson with 20 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. She was 4 of 6 from 3. Hannah Stolke cashed in at the line. That was really the calling card for Hannah tonight. 13 points for Hannah, did grab 5 rebounds, was 5 of 6 from the foul line. We saw Leah Guyton play early and hit a kind of a curling jump shot from the mid-range Kachine, and I thought, hey, maybe that's going to get her going, and then she seemed to struggle. And there was one point where she made a mistake, and Jan ripped her, and we really didn't see. We saw a brief stint after that from her, but she finished with just over 11. I mean, I know she's a freshman. I know Tegan's a freshman. She's been off basically since the exhibition. Taylor Strimlow is what Taylor Strimlow is a freshman who's going to be scrappy. And I think she's probably going to be the most reliable true freshman heading into postseason play just because of the nature of how she plays. But how much is there any sense of urgency from you, given what Aaliyah was giving them in late December, early January, as it relates to athleticism, attacking off the dribble, defensive scrappiness? Is there any level of angst from you or some sort of a sense of urgency to get her going before tournament time, because they're kind of running out of time?
Yes and no. The only thing I will say is that anything we get from Aaliyah Guyton is a bonus right now. Thank the Lord for that, because instead of Falter and all of our veterans who we were dying to do something at the beginning of the season and a little bit in the Big Ten season too, they've stepped up. They started doing what they need to do. They started playing the way that we know that they can play. So anything that we can get from Aaliyah Guyton is technically a bonus. Now, the yes part of that is the more we can get from her, I think the further we will go. Because now you have another scoring guard off the bench. So I think that's where the yes urgency part comes. Because that's super beneficial for us as far as offensively. So yeah.
And I don't even think it has to be a lot of contribution. It's just, early in the season when she was getting her first minutes, down in Cancun, and then the first couple of games after that that threat of being a 3-point. She doesn't have to shoot 80% like she started, but just being that threat of being able to hit a 3 or kind of like today, that mid-range jumper or get to the rim. Just kind of not similar to Kylie Feuerbach, but kind of similar. And you just need to be enough of a threat that the other team has to not game plan, but has to know and has to be able to guard you. Right now, I would be okay with not a wide open 3, but if I'm the opponent, I'm not getting out there super hard on Aaliyah Guyton because she just isn't shooting it well. And she turned it over a couple times tonight. Just feels like she's forcing a little bit more than she needs to. But I think you're right in that, any extra contributions that she can bring in, if that's, getting a steal or something, or a couple of assists or hit a 3 or 2, that can be big, especially in postseason when it seems like in close postseason games, you need someone to step up to more than your veterans or more than your normal scores. You need that player that hits that big shot in the third quarter when the other team's coming back or something like that. And Aaliyah Guyton can be that player to hit a big 3 at a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
But right now it doesn't feel like she would be that person, and they need her to get back to that at some point.
Kachine, you were an elite rebounder. Is there an aspect of when your shots are going down? I mean, you're shooting at a clip like we saw from Iowa in the first half that you kind of slack off on the glass because they were -6 in the first half. Come back in the second half, don't shoot the 3 ball well, didn't take a ton, and they're +4. That's a pretty big differential from one half to the next.
I'm not going to say me because it didn't matter to me. That was just ingrained in me. So that's a little different. I think that, yes, that is something that can happen for sure. If you're like, oh, shoot, she missed it, and then by that time it's already over with. I just thought overall though, even our defensive rebounding, we were just they were getting their hands on everything. Like, I don't know how many offensive rebounds we let up. That has nothing to do with our shot selection. So I think that in itself was probably where a majority of we got out rebounded was because we gave them so many offensive chances. So yeah.
I also thought the game was I thought the game was very fast paced and free flowing in a way that maybe Iowa was just, and I thought Michigan a couple times as well, just out of position when the shot went up. And I think that was just the tempo was so fast. And I think this even happened with Iowa the last couple of years, as fast as they ran offensively. The game got sped up so much that sometimes shot attempts just went up and you just weren't in a position to rebound. But I mean, I guess if you're Iowa, they've rebounded so well this season. If you're going to have, they only got out rebounded by 2. But if you're going to have a poor rebounding night, I guess the night where you shoot and make 10 threes is the night where you want it to happen, I guess. Because I don't expect them to duplicate this performance, against Wisconsin or really maybe again this season because they've rebounded so well. So, I mean, I guess if you're going to have an off rebounding night, it's on the night that you hit 10 threes and win by almost 15.
Off the top of my head, this has got to be their best offensive performance of the season or close. I know it's not their highest scoring output.
Well, the Washington one is.
Yeah.
My bad. I forgot about that one.
Washington was insane.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
We could just throw something up blindfolded and it was going in. No.
Is it odd? How common to you, Kachine, is it that a team would have their 2 best prolific offensive performances away from home?
UNI was a good game. UNI, they scored did they score 90 against UNI? And that was at home.
I mean, sometimes people play better away because you have to be more focused on being together. So I've seen it happen. I still think it's crazy though, but yeah, that Washington game was.
I know they played, Toledo as well. They had 94 and 7 turnovers in that game. That would be the only other one that I can think of that was pretty clean up and down was that one, but
it was incredibly clean the other night against UCLA, correct?
Yeah, it was very clean then, but they only scored 65. So
yeah, stayed in that game because of defense and because of their ability to limit turnovers. Let's go to our phone line. We got James here. James, welcome to the show. Appreciate you calling in. James, are you live? Well, we're not going to assume the worst. James, if you can reload and let me know when you're good to go here. Looks like he left a comment in the private chat. I can't quite make out this comment. Okay, sounds like maybe something happened with his team. Something happened with his team. So, James, Hope everything is okay. It looks like he tried to get into it. James, you with us now?
But okay, so I was saying I didn't watch the game because I had a game tonight, but it was just an emotional game. So with what I had going on, I just wanted to wish you all. I hope everything's good with you guys because it's been a lot. It's been hard, so it's just hope you guys are all doing well.
Appreciate that, James. We hope everything is okay for you as well.
Yeah, it's just been a rough time for the school I coach at and all that stuff. So it's been hard, but we found a way to win and we're on to the next round at least. And that's your goal, to win a game like that. So, but I just wanted to say I wish you guys prayers that everything goes well for you guys because it's been a couple of days for me. So I just wanted to give you guys my well wishes and everything going on. So
we appreciate that. Right back at you, James. Take care. And
cheers to you.
Yep, absolutely. We'll talk to you hopefully during tournament play.
Yep, sounds good. I didn't get to see any of the game, but I seen day one, obviously, what's going on. So that's a benefit. But just start to pop in here and just say, hope everybody else is well in the comments is doing well. I know it's hard, but just good luck to everybody and hope everybody does well and is doing well.
Thank you, James. Appreciate him being here. And again, take care. Hope all is well on your end as well. Folks, the number to call in, 515-635-1601, 515-635-1601. Kim Pagel wants to know, what position will Stokey play next year? That might be the million-dollar question in the offseason. I know, Kyle, you seem to think that, well, she gets an offseason and starts getting that jump shot down, she'll just move back to the 4. But I've heard from a lot of people over the years say, hey, if you don't have a jump shot, not that you can't improve, and, I mean, we've seen guys in the NBA level develop as they've gotten to the league, but if you don't have a jump shot coming out of high school, it's hard to develop, especially if she's not been able to focus on it during really any off season. I'm sure she's shot plenty in off seasons, but if that's going to be the central focus, is one off season going to be enough heading into her senior year? That's my question.
I mean, she had, if you watch her jump shot, whether it's a 3 or a long 2 or something, she doesn't have a bad shot.
Correct.
It's a good shot, which is why I believe that if she spends a whole off, this doesn't mean, shooting 10 extra shots after practice. If she puts in the work to become a decent 3-point shooter, I'm not thinking she has to make Taylor McCabe amount of threes, but to be a threat to make threes, to be a threat to shoot the mid-range jumper, I think she can do it because her shot is good. I think her form is fine. It's not. It would be different.
Is her shot really good, Kachine? Tell me about her.
Her form's not bad at all. You don't have to start from scratch with her.
It would be different if you watch her shoot a jump shot and you were like, please never shoot a shot again.
I think Sydney,
but I don't think that's what it is.
I think Sydney Falter's got really clunky, very robotic form, Kachine. And I never, that's part of the reason I always thought Lucy could probably figure it out, although she's got kind of an unorthodox jump shot anyways. But Sydney Falter, her shot is very clunky, in my opinion, form-wise. And it's slow, and she's turned it on. So, and we have seen Hannah make, I didn't think the injury would totally side I mean, her free throw shooting is improved. We've talked about that. That's been well documented. So I kind of thought her ability to shoot in live game action would improve as well. But I wonder how much of it's up here.
You can shoot free throws injured. You cannot shoot threes injured.
Yeah.
So while she was injured, I'm sure that's what she was doing.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, we've got a comment here from Mitchell. Says, if we beat Wisconsin, win 2 games in the Big Ten tournament, can we get to the 6th seed in the NCAAs? Kyle, I'm going to rely on you for Mitchell's question.
2 games. It would depend who that second team is at the Big Ten tournament. I mean, Wisconsin's got to be a must win. I think it's probably going to end up being Penn State. I think Iowa's going to be the 10 seed at the Big Ten tournament. You take care of business against Penn State. I've seen Michigan State could potentially be the 7 seed. Illinois, maybe. Nebraska. I haven't looked through. I think they've got a shot. They were projected as a 7 seed in ESPN's latest projection, and Michigan was a 6 seed, and I would just beat Michigan. So I think it's possible. I would say right now they're probably going to be a 7 seed, but I wouldn't count out the chances of them getting up to a 6 seed.
So apparently Hannah Stolke was under the weather. Did you see this, Kyle? Apparently she had the flu. Maybe she said this post game in the last 20 minutes, but I see a lot of people streaming into the chat saying she was sick. Maybe it was her dad. So Amanda says her dad posted that she was sick. Now, for the record, she's had an issue with the layups for more
That
nights.
ain't got nothing to do with her being sick. But go ahead.
Yeah, that's not. I don't know. Did you notice anything from her other than some missed bunnies tonight? I almost called you Hannah. Kachine, that would give you indicators that
she's not been playing well for games as
Yeah.
far as to her capability. She's not been playing well. Like this game, she should have destroyed, right? Like they don't have any big players. She should have had her way in that sense. But it's kind of been, it's been like, come on. And I feel like ever since she was concussed, it's been like a little slow moving kind of scenario.
Yeah, I agree. Bob says a bird told me to ask about the Mavs. Just don't ask about the Mavericks. Kyle, don't smile at that. That's not something to smile about. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate you being here, sir. And as always, David reminding everybody, folks, hit that thumbs up button. I had one more question for you, Kyle, and we'll let you slide and get to your post-game work over at HawkeyeReport.com. And it was involving the tournament, but then the last tournament question kind of, Nick, we got to get to this comment. Nick giving you your props, your flowers for calling the Sydney Falter game out pre-game. But the question was brought up about the 6 seed. So you think they're going to be the 10 without pulling, we can pull up the standings and look at them, but how safe are they for a bye at this point? Are they safe?
They would not get a bye. The 10 seed would not be a bye.
Okay, so you're projecting they don't get a bye.
No, I think without looking, I think Indiana either needs to beat Maryland or lose to Purdue. Right now, I believe is the scenario that would get Iowa a bye. But I don't necessarily believe that a bye does them a ton. I mean, yeah, you're assuming that they're going to lose to either USC or UCLA. They're not the quarterfinal matchup will either be UCLA or USC because they're either going to be in the 8-9 or they're going to be the 10 seed. So your quarterfinal matchup is going to be either UCLA or USC. If we're assuming they're going to lose that game, would you rather not throw in a win against Penn State, who's, I think it wouldn't be quad 2. It'd be a quad 3 win. Just add in a quad 3 win and then get whoever you're facing that second round, or if you get the first round bye, you'd face a quad 1 opponent on a neutral site.
So first of all, I hate Big Ten's standings page because you got to count, right? You got to count where they're at in the standings, but they're, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So they're 10th in the standings right now. You're saying so they've got the tiebreaker, the head-to-head over Nebraska.
There's a website that does that. You can put in who you think's going to win certain games, and it'll spit out what the final standings are going to be. So I've got Washington won tonight, Ohio State won, UCLA is winning. So if Maryland beats Indiana, Penn State beats Purdue, and then you go through and pick the favorite. I have Illinois beating Michigan at home, and then Ohio State beating Maryland. If you do that, Iowa's still the 10th seed. The only way that would be different would be if Indiana beats Maryland, then Iowa would move up to the 9. They would play Indiana, the 8 seed. And then if Indiana loses to Maryland but then loses to Purdue, then Iowa would be the 8 seed and play Michigan, the 9 seed. So it's down to whether Indiana loses to or beats Maryland or loses to Purdue. And I don't see either of those happening. But to me, if you're not going to win that quarterfinal matchup against UCLA or USC, just beat Penn State, beat them by 15, 20 points, add in another win, and then go beat your whoever in the second game.
That win doesn't do anything for you. I mean,
it doesn't
hurt you.
Don't play it. It doesn't. Yeah, I think that you're splitting hairs, right?
Yeah,
do you either play one game and win and lose? Do you go 1-1 or 2-1?
You're assuming
is always better than 1-1.
That's also an opportunity at a bad loss. You don't want to play bad teams in March because then you're opportunity. That's the worst time to lose to a bad team is right before Selection Sunday.
Most of those teams are playing for their season.
I mean, the thing, if I'm talking about specifically of trying to get to a 6th seed in the NCAA tournament.
Sure.
If you lose to Penn State, if you lose in the first, if you get a first round bye and then you lose that game, you're not getting a 6th seed. So I'm just saying, from a standpoint of trying to get to a 6, throwing in a win over Penn State can't hurt.
And then who would they likely play in the second round? And then if they played
with the scenario that I was just pulling up, the second round would be the 7th seed, which would be Michigan State in this scenario. If Michigan beats Illinois,
I want them again.
Well, but if you're
if Michigan beats Illinois, the 7th seed would be Illinois.
if you're concerned about resume and building the resume to get to a 6th seed, wouldn't you rather play a USC or UCLA and get an opportunity to beat them?
But I mean that's the that I just said. You would play Penn State, you would win. Then you get Michigan State, who is a very solid quad one team. That would I think
you get back that loss. I'll take it.
If you beat Wisconsin, you beat Penn State, and then you beat Michigan State, that's going to be right there for a 6 seed. At 22-10, that'll be right there. And then if you lose to UCLA or USC, then that's just that's like a top 5 net loss or top 10 net loss. That's not going to hurt you. I think you'd rather get I believe Illinois is going to be right on the edge of the quad one if it's them. So either way, that second game or whatever is going to be a quad one game. I don't think you have to win anything past that to get to a 6. I think if it was Michigan State and you beat Michigan State, I think they'd be a 6 seed. But
results ads says this Iowa team is going to be dangerous in the NCAA tournament. No one is going to want them in their bracket. And
I think they're dangerous if they're a 6 seed. I think they'd be dangerous as a 7, but I just don't know that there's a 2 seed that I like them to. Yeah, sure, they beat USC, which is probably going to be a 2 seed, but I don't know that they go to NC State and beat NC State. I don't know that they go to, I don't know who are the other 2. They're not going to UConn and beating UConn. But I think if they get up to a 6 seed, you start talking about a TCU or a Kentucky. I think those teams are more likely for Iowa to beat than a 2 seed. So that comment, if they get to a 6 seed, they're very dangerous, in my opinion. But I think a 7 seed, they're a little bit less dangerous. It'd take a pretty sizable upset for them to win.
Okay, last thing. I promise this is going to be the last thing. Do you have reason to believe Kylie Feuerbach is considering a 6th year at Iowa?
She had talked about I don't even remember when we got to talk to her, within the last month, and she said she hadn't decided yet. I had heard rumors before the season that she wasn't planning on coming back, so I don't know if she just didn't want to tell us that day because it was the middle of the season. But that was the rumor that I'd heard, is that she wasn't planning on coming back. But as if she said within the last month, she said she hadn't decided. Maybe we find out tomorrow, because tomorrow we get to talk to all the seniors at media availability. So maybe that's when we found out about Sharon Goodman said that she wasn't coming back. I want to say the year before, right around that time, is when we found out about McKenna and Kate, or not McKenna and Kate, Gabby and Kate. McKenna the year before. So this is around the time where sometimes the decision comes out. So maybe tomorrow.
It's got to come out before that senior night.
But I don't know. I think, from what I had heard before the season, she was leaning towards not coming back.
Why do they need to wait real quick? Why do they need to announce before senior night, Kachine?
You can't have 2.
But I think for someone like a Kylie Feuerbach, you just want to have the one.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second.
But Corey, you have presents and all kinds of stuff that happens.
This happens all the time in football.
We're not football. We've already established that, though.
I don't even think it's very often that a football player goes through senior day and then comes back.
Yes. Well, I don't have people in mind.
Really
I believe Caden Weegan went through senior day this year, and he's returning. I have to go back and look to see who was on.
It's not a normal thing.
The Iowa hasn't had anyone go through senior day and come back.
No, you got to make
for women's basketball since I started covering them.
Maybe for women's basketball, but I'm just saying it's not like a person can't go through a ceremony more than once. That has happened several times with Iowa football.
That's weird.
With Definity. But anyways. All right, folks. Kyle Huseman. Sorry. Too many Kyles around this show, Kyle. Folks can follow him over at X at Huseman Kyle. That's 2 N's, Huseman Kyle, all one word. And find his stuff over on HawkeyeReport.com. They'll get a post-game recap. And I know I'm sure a lot of wrestling coverage after the big weekend, Kyle, and men's basketball coverage continues. I know people are concerned about the future and the head of the program. I know Tom Kakert's on the message boards talking with people. And what else am I missing about what people can get if they subscribe over to Hawkeye Report?
Yeah, I've got baseball coverage. The Hawkeyes just went 2-1 last weekend down at Stetson, and they've got Washington State for 4 this weekend. So I've got some stuff discussing baseball up on the board or on the site today. And as you mentioned, Tanner does a fantastic job covering wrestling. There was an event over at Extreme Arena tonight that Spencer Lee was wrestling tonight. So was DeSanto. They were doing some event over there with some pretty high level wrestling matches over there. So he'll have some coverage of that. But yeah, I mean, this is the crossover time with wrestling, women's basketball, men's basketball, baseball. So there's a lot over there for people to read.
Just real quick, for people that don't maybe keep up with Iowa baseball like they keep up with Iowa women's basketball, with everybody knows they lost Brody Brecht. What does the pitching group look like? And is this a team that can maybe threaten it once we hit tournament time?
Yeah, I mean, the pitching staff's been good this year. Above what maybe some people thought. I thought it was going to be an improved group from last year because they really struggled last year. Starting pitching has been very good this year. Kate Obermueller's been really good. Aaron Savory's been good. Reese Buter just threw 7 innings on Sunday and only threw 72 pitches. So the pitching staff's been very improved this year. I think they'll contend to make the NCAA tournament. I think they're that high level of a team. But yeah, I mean, Rick Heller always has a really good team. He's done a fantastic job since he came to Iowa. I think it's been his 11th year now, so it's been a while. But yeah, they've got a good team, and I think the pitching staff has improved. If people are shying away from what they saw or heard last year, the pitching staff is pretty improved this year.
Good stuff. People can check out Kyle's baseball coverage over at HawkeyeReport.com. Kyle, appreciate you being here, sir. And we will. I'm not speaking right tonight, so hopefully the next 20 minutes goes better. But Kyle, take care. We'll talk to you hopefully after a big senior win this weekend.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's go to our next caller. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander, who's on the line.
John, I just want to say, watching Lucy Olson, I'm trying to compare her to some WNBA players. I really think she's just as good as, I believe her name was J.C. Sheldon, that played for,
yeah.
She plays in the W now. I think also, Lucy is just as good or better.
Okay. All right.
And one other thing, the only thing, Jan, this would make me so mad as a player. When Jan Jensen, I think Kylie Fairback, not this game, but against UCLA, did some not so sharp, smart things, and a timeout was called, and Jan is pointing at her head, be smarter, in front of the whole crowd. And I'd like to know what Cash would say if she was a player. I just think that's something you do on the sidelines. Come on, you say something to kind of be like, oh, tone it down. You don't go up against a 6'7" girl trying to make a layup, So that's my only point. I hate when other coaches do that too. It's like you're showing up the player. We know she made a mistake, but
I'm surprised. Can I just say this real quick, John? And I want Cash respond. This team is roll. And I'm not saying you're wrong, John, but I just want to make that very clear.
No,
it's just you're wrong.
Things that bother me in sports in general. Just
no. I'm what I was going to say is I'm surprised, not just with your comment, but I'm surprised there have been. You're not the only one. There have been people who in recent time have been very critical of Jan and her demeanor on the sidelines, even her temperament. Kachine, how do you respond to that? And John, I understand where he's coming from, but I'm surprised in the midst of their success and they're trending where they're trending right now that's a concern.
Because they got some of the nicest girls on the court. You just don't. These are not
nice. Don't win championships though. Yeah, being nice don't win you championships. So I think here's the other thing that I always have a question. Did y'all not think Coach Bluter used to yell at people in the middle of the
That's fine, but that's fine to yell at a player like that. But do it on the sidelines, so not like everybody's watching the UCLA game in front of
But aren't you guys watching anyways? It's still there. It's not like she took her to the back. She's still she's still yelling at them in the huddle. Everybody can hear it. It's not anybody close by can hear them yelling.
No, just do it in the huddle. Just say it quietly or loud, but don't do it so everybody in the whole damn TV can see what's going on.
Well, the cameras are on the huddles oftentimes, John.
Well, they're not. Yeah, but don't point at the head. We all know what that means. That means you made a bonehead play, and I'm ticked off.
Yeah, you being stupid. She better than me because I'd have told her that.
But don't
be smarter. At least she didn't say that. She just pointed to her head and was like, "Hey, come on, you got to think." But I mean,
Yeah,
technically,
it's harder,
we
but
can keep everybody accountable, regardless of what it is. And soft doesn't work well.
There's a certain way to do that, Cash. So, and you know that. You don't.
No, I don't. Not in sports. There's no time and place in sports. There's
she kept doing it for like she did it for 2 minutes, so everybody knew. Okay, I'm the coach. I
don't think anybody cared, probably but you, because I think everybody was screaming at her for that exact play. So I think
real quick,
Coach Jay's idea of just pointing to her head was probably the nicest way that I think any other coach would have approached it.
Oh, well, that's just, I don't know.
Just throwing it out there. I don't think any other coach would have just pointed to their head.
Can I ask, what was the play? What was
player
the play?
that would tick me off, and
when she went up against Lauren Betts.
John, what was the play? I want to know what the play was that prompted.
Okay, well, Kylie had screwed up a couple plays. Like she took a couple bad shots.
She kept going against Lauren Betts.
Then she goes up against a 6'7" guard, center, trying to make a layup, which is a kind of a, you aren't going to make that 2-pointer over a 6'7" center.
Okay.
But that's just, come on, man, don't be showing up, and I don't be showing up your players like that.
I don't think.
I mean,
I agree with. Listen,
I watched it with Caitlin Clark when she had that dumb coach from Indiana Fever always throwing her players under the bus after the game. That's a way to lose your players.
Who is this? Who are you talking about now?
Oh, the Indiana Fever coach. They fired her.
Oh, sure. Well, a little bit different, and there's a different dynamic in pro sports than there is in college as it relates to coaching. But anyways,
college,
there is.
You can say college is pro sports now.
They're
making enough money,
real quick.
damn money.
You do not see JJ Redick showing up LeBron James, and you never will. And I guarantee.
Do we say this again with men's basketball? I'm just curious. Do we say that the men's No, I'm asking John. Does he say that with men's basketball? Like, these are nice gentlemen. We should not, berate them in front of the entire crowd. Do we say that?
Yeah, I would hate that. Do you think Lisa Bluter ever pointed her finger at
100%? I played for her.
Cash, you think she ever did that to Caitlin Clark?
Stop, John. Kylie is not Caitlin Clark. Kylie Feuerbach is not Caitlin Clark.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, she wouldn't have to do it with Caitlin Clark.
No, but she has said things to Caitlin Clark and has met her on the court. So I don't understand. Like, it would be different if nobody said anything until they got in the huddle. That is not the case. Coach Bluter has met Caitlin Clark in the middle of the court in a timeout to have a conversation with her. Now, we may not have known what happened in the conversation or something of the sort, but that doesn't. Coach Bluter has yelled as you're walking to the huddle. Now, warranted, mind you, not saying it's never warranted, it's warranted. But at the same point in time, that is coaching. Sometimes you have to get in somebody's behind, and sometimes you have to bring them close. You have to have a conversation with them, and then you have to do whatever. It depends on the situation. Now, again, in this specific situation, I can understand if Coach Jay went berserk. Then, okay, maybe, well, whatever. Me, I wouldn't care. But fine, I can understand how somebody on the outside could feel away.
I'm just waiting for Jan to start throwing a chair across the floor.
Yeah, she's definitely not doing that.
That would be a Bobby Knight act right there.
She's definitely not doing that.
All right, John. John, we appreciate you being here, sir. Thanks
for
the call.
Thank you.
Oh, that was good. That took a turn that I really enjoyed. Can I just say that? All right, let's go back.
Sure.
Let's go back to the phone line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander, who's on the line.
This is Andy. How are you guys doing?
Good, Andy. How are you?
Good. Hey, I just wanted to comment on the last caller.
Okay.
I knew this was
Kylie Feuerbach turns the ball over. My neighbors 3 blocks away hear me screaming at her. So
I hear you.
Coach Jay's reaction is much better than mine.
Well, John is saying that if your neighbors are screaming, that's fine. But since the whole nation is watching on TV, that's not okay. I'm just
what's funny about that, though? Here's the thing. If you have a player who cannot handle embarrassment, like he was saying, how is she supposed to play in front of 15,000 people when the lights are on and it is like high pressure situation. If you can't handle this, you might as well just sit on the bench, sweetheart. You might as well just don't even. It's okay. You're not gonna make it. You're gonna crumble when something is when you're back against the wall, or now you got to inbound the ball and there's 5 seconds left and people are all over you and you don't want to turn the ball. Like there's so much more to sports than just someone yelling or not yelling. It's in the aspect of how can you as a player hear what she's saying, put it to use, and not internalize it, whatever it may be. Now, every coach is different. Some people yell at you, like a Bobby Knight. There's some people who are motivators. There's some people, everybody's different. But at the same point in time, if you can't handle that, you're not going to be able to handle the Final Four, any of the other stuff that the other team has handled. You're not. You're going to crumble. Guaranteed. If you can't handle that, oh, Lord.
And I imagine Kylie was yelled at Caitlin multiple times for her 3 years with Caitlin. Probably.
Guaranteed. I know she was tearing them apart.
But again,
and he made the comment. He said,
John
"Nice
says
girls."
the difference, John says, is that it's not in front of how many thousands of. I don't know why that. Personally, I'm not saying John's. I disagree with John, but I don't know why that makes a difference, because this is what these young athletes, male or female, sign up for. So if you can't take the heat, then
I don't
soft.
look at them as male or female. They're athletes. They're D1 athletes.
Exactly. Yeah.
I yell at Peyton Sanford too, not as much as I do at the Iowa women, but
I wish Fran McCaffrey would yell more at Peyton Sanford.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think I could be the coach at Iowa ever in life. I think everybody would turn on me. That's how I feel, because it's no way. There's no way.
But I just wanted to call in as a girl sports dad, that when you said, "What, they're nice girls," they're not nice girls when they're on the court or the soccer field or the softball diamond.
I'm mean as hell. Okay, I am your worst nightmare. Okay, I'm very nice off the court though.
We appreciate you calling and giving your perspective.
Yeah, no problem. And go Hawks. And if I was a Big Ten coach, I would not want to see these Hawkeyes in the tournament on a neutral court.
Me either.
Amen, brother.
And I know they hate it.
Have a good night. Thank you, sir.
Yep, you too. Thanks, guys.
Good call. All right, we have got another caller waiting here in the wings. LeBron wants to know, Kachine, he's just stating this is why Hayden should be in front of O'Grady. She's not a defensive liability. You can re-explain this if you want, or if you just want to pass over. Okay, she doesn't want to. Kyle Spence says, Corey, talking about me, I think he's thinking about the other Corey, the other Kirk Ferentz loving Corey. I don't think. He's in our live chat, by the way, and he's about to hop on with us. But Kyle says Corey would be a good play-by-play broadcaster. Thank you, Kyle. The University of Michigan did not call me, though, in advance of this game, so that's why I was not on the call this afternoon. Patrick brings up Kyle Huseman. This is the most proud I've seen Kyle of himself. Yes, he was proud of that Sydney Falter take.
Oh, he was. As he should be.
As he should be. Patrick says, how does Sydney Falter always seem to have so much space on her three-point shots? Is it because she's playing the four and has slower playing players guarding her? Can you explain why she's open? Is she just a little bit?
You kind of said that when we were talking about the whole Hannah thing way back when, and why Hannah moving Hannah back to the four and all of that kind of stuff doesn't work, because it also affects Sid.
Right.
Sid started playing so much better once she moved to the four. So I think that was where she was comfortable with. That's where, everything just kind of fell into place for her. And I do think some of that. Sid's not like a crafty kind of player. She's a straight line driver. She's an open shot taker. Like, she got to load that thing up for it. So I think for her, having a slower defender or having that advantage works in her favor. She is going to have to work pretty hard this summer, though, because she ain't going to be able to play the four.
But let's keep in mind, Michigan was playing small anyways. So if there was a group that should be able to defend a smaller four that can stretch the floor, it would be Michigan, perhaps.
They kept losing her. She was wide the hell open. She didn't even have to do nothing.
Yeah, I don't know that was so much. She's an offensive mismatch tonight.
Not this game. She was just wide open. I don't know what they were doing.
She's making her shots. She's taking advantage of open looks. Patrick, thank you for the super chat. Early in the fourth quarter, we got beat for an easy bucket in transition. It actually made me appreciate how that virtually never happens to this team. The breath of fresh air that is good defense. When you can contrast that with what we see from the men's team night in and night out. Joe, good question here, and we can explain this to you briefly. Joe, the Big Ten standings are all based on the regular season standings. So the Big Ten tournament seeds, the bracket is all built based on the I can throw the bracket up here so we can all look at it if you'd like, but it's all based upon how you finish in the conference season, the regular season. So that's why we were looking at those standings earlier. Iowa's 9-8 in conference play, and so they're just trying to avoid. Well, again, they really can't. They don't control their own destiny as it relates to a bye, but those seedings will be set by Sunday evening because that's final day of conference play in the regular season. All right, let's go back to our phone line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander. Who's on the line? Beep, you're on the air.
Am I on? Can you hear me?
Well, we got you loud and clear, sir.
All right, great. This is Mark from New York.
Say that again. You cut out a little bit.
This is Mark calling from New York City.
Hey, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing good. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, I had to call after that call a couple calls ago because what are we doing? Jam pointing at our head is a controversy. Like, come on, Hawk fans. Like, with what we see with the football team, like those are elite athletes. They've been trying to win for their entire lives.
You know what? That's why I love our viewers. I ain't gotta say nothing.
Not be a controversy. I was very surprised by that.
Yeah,
my understanding.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Corey.
No. I just was going to say, it's such a contrast because, and I understand it from the other point of view. But if you listen to our men's basketball shows, much of this season, people have been frustrated by Fran's lack of fire. Mm-hmm. I even made a comment a couple minutes ago about how I wish Fran would yell at Peyton Sanford a little bit more. So I just think you're always going to have two people, regardless if we're talking about sports or any issue, you're going to have people on two totally opposite ends of the spectrum, and they see life and whatever you're talking about through their lens. And I just don't think you can't be a people pleaser if you're a coach or a player. You just can't. You got how many thousands of people watching you?
Yeah. And my understanding, and Cash, maybe you can speak to this, is that Jam, she resonates with these players. Like, my understanding from the outside looking at it, she's quite the recruiter.
Yes.
Feuerbach, I mean, she's been one of her biggest believers, even though Feuerbach's been facing probably a lot of doubt from people in the fan base throughout the season. She's stuck with her right there the entire way. And we had no one leave for the transfer portal. Like, there was no wavering in this transition from Lisa Buda to Dan Jensen. So, look, us as fans on the outside, we don't really know what's going on inside the program. So I think let's take a step back in these sort of scenarios. Her relationship with the players behind the scenes, like you can't make a judgment like that based off what we see on TV over the course of a couple seconds of the game.
And let's take this a step further. We're contrasting it with men's basketball, but let's admit the simple fact that Fran McCaffery has been known for some of his tirades, and yet his players typically confess, hey, I've had no issues with Fran, loved Fran as a coach. We're talking guys who graduated or even transferred out of the program. I remember talking to several guys after they left Iowa, and they said, hey, it had nothing to do with Fran as a person. I really loved Fran McCaffery. So I don't know that players, I mean, some probably do, Cash, but players in general, if you're at this level, they're not going to form an opinion on their head coach based on what happens after a bad play or what happens after a good play in the course of a game. And that's just part of what you sign up for. I said that earlier, but that's just part of the game. And that's why I think some people are rightly frustrated with Fran's lack of zeal or whatever you want to call it throughout the rest of this men's basketball season. So I agree with you, sir, and I appreciate you sounding off on it. I know that ruffled some feathers because I read it in the chat as well.
Yeah, you bet. And I only have one question. If we can go on a run, either in the Big Ten tournament or hopefully in the NCAA, what is one change that you would like to see from the team? What's one area we need to start clicking that would help us to be able to go on that run?
The basket.
The what?
I'm curious to see if you guys are going to catch my drift. We need to start clicking with the basket. Layups.
Okay. So
That's what we need to start clicking for.
That way, if you told the average team that their key for them to going into postseason play was just make layups, that'd be like the best thing you could ever tell someone. But it's been an issue.
It's been a huge issue
all year.
Yep. Easy buckets too.
So layup drills, right? Is that the easiest way just to fix it? Just layup drills?
I wouldn't say that because most of the time it's everybody can make wide open layups. Like,
sure.
Like nobody around. It's just the fact of not thinking like you're in a layup line. Nobody's there. Like, just go up and finish. If you get fouled, you get fouled. Majority of the time when people are missing layups is because they're anticipating the foul. Start connecting with the basket, please. It'll make our lives so much easier. Defense has been great. We're starting to hit from 3. It's just we need those little bunnies to start dropping.
All right, hope we start making some layups in March. But
I hope so.
Enjoy the show after games. It helps a lot. Feels good after a win. It kind of helps to commiserate with listening to you guys on call after a tough loss like a couple days ago. But go Hawks.
Okay, sir. Go Hawks. Appreciate the call. All right.
Some people understood what I meant by connect the basket. Look at that. Smart people.
Aaron says, can't wait for Jan Knight next game.
That's
Cheers. Game on.
Corey, I lost it when you said beat.
Hey, it worked.
When I tell you I lost it.
It worked. I'm telling you, it works. Sometimes people don't know they're live on the air because they think they're going to hear a cue sound. So I'm like, maybe I should.
God, that was so funny. And look at this tweet.
Where did that? I don't want to know who sent that out.
Kelly, it says Kachine Alexis is all of us right now. I'm keeping that tweet. I don't know how to say it or whatever, but I'm gonna do that because that's hilarious.
Can I just be totally honest, brutally honest? There was a period earlier in the show when it was you, me, and Kyle. We had like 700 people watching, and nobody was calling in. And I'm like, holy cow, what are we going to talk about for the next 30 minutes? But you and I both said we weren't going to do a real long post-game show tonight. But I'm like, man, it's going to be the longest 30 minutes of my life. And then John called in, and it just sparked all of this. So anyways,
it was great.
Let's go to our next caller. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander. Who's on the line?
Excuse me, this is Chris in Wyoming.
Hey, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Yeah. So I've been watching you guys the last couple of weeks, and there seems to be people arguing with you, and I just would like to say, everybody, calm down. Number one, I want to tell you a story of something that happened to me when I played basketball in high school, which was over 50 years ago. And I played varsity all 4 years. There are only 4 things I remember, distinct things I remember about games. One of them was when my coach called a timeout, and apparently I wasn't listening. And so then when we went back into play, apparently I did exactly what he told me, opposite of what he told me to do. Yes. And he was so angry that he called another timeout and then met me in the middle of the court screaming at me, Now, that had no impact on me as a person in any way because I loved playing and I was a competitor and I wasn't listening. You know what I mean? But it just made me remember, and I look back on that and I always laugh about it, So that's just from a perspective of a really elderly woman.
It's a good perspective because it shows that coaching has changed, but it hasn't changed.
Yes.
Right. I mean, it's an emotional sport. You got to have fire to play it, and you got to use your head. And when a coach, calls a timeout and says, and this guy was pretty analytical and he had everything, in his mind the way we were supposed to do it. And again, I wasn't listening. So I didn't do any of it. So you can understand why he'd be upset. So, I think it'd be different if these were grade school girls, but these women have been at it a long time. That's not the first time she's been yelled at in front of people.
And it's also a pivotal part of the season. It is a pivotal part of the season where every inch, every play matters. So
you betcha. Yeah.
I mean,
I think part of the fire you're seeing from Alfonso is that, hey, this is it. This is the end. You know, how many games in the regular season, then the tournaments, and then that's it.
That's it.
So
and
I think
if Kylie's leaving, she could come back for another year. But if the rumors are true that she's not, then I'm sure Jan, because she cares about her senior, she wants her to make the best out of herself. There's also something called discipline.
Yeah.
Like parents discipline their children. Good parents discipline their children. Good parents do. And I'm not saying that that's what Jan was doing. I didn't see the play the moment that John was talking about, but there is an aspect of discipline. And, it's like, you ever seen those kids in Walmart that are screaming and yelling and carrying on, and you're just like, oh my, shut up. And the parents aren't doing anything.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Chris, the parents aren't doing anything. And you're like, will you please punish your child, discipline your child? And you're so upset because they don't. But in reality, the parents, one of the reasons the parents may not be doing it, maybe they don't do it around the clock, but some parents don't want to do it because there are people watching.
Oh, well, I raised two daughters, and I got to tell you, there was one time when we were getting groceries, one time when they threw a fit, and I apologize to the grocery store now, but I just picked them up and left the store and left the cart. That was the solution, and they never did it again. Yeah. So,
I wish there were more parents like you,
ways.
Chris, because anyways, we don't need to go off on a whole parent.
Yeah, I was perfect. But anyway, I could ramble on about, all my thoughts about, the last couple of games and what's been going on. But I think that the team probably feels really empowered because of the last three outings, even though they lost to UCLA. In their hearts, it wasn't a bad thing. So they're like thinking to themselves, we can play at this level with these people, and if that's what they want, then Jan's going to have to do what she needs to do to keep them inspired and to remind them you can't make mistakes in the tournament play. You simply can't. You always have to have your mind engaged. So I don't fault Jan. And again, people just need to calm down. Okay.
There you go, Chris. We appreciate you calling as always, and stay safe. And is it warmer weather out in Wyoming?
Yeah, last week it was below zero for like 5 or 6 days, but today was 40 something. So it's getting better.
Good deal.
Yay.
Well, stay warm, Chris. Spring and summer right around the corner. We'll talk to you Saturday or Sunday.
All right. Thanks, you guys.
All right. So a couple things.
Below zero is crazy.
Fire in the chat here. David says, Cash, I had a couple of tequila shots last week in Mexico.
I'm about to have a couple of tequila shots this weekend. It's my birthday Friday. Go ahead.
What's your tequila? Is it Jose Cuervo? What's your tequila choice of?
I'm just kidding. I don't like tequila, but
you don't like tequila?
No.
I had some tequila the other day. It was really good. I won't say where I had it, but it was really good. They put that little chili stuff on the shot glass.
Oh, yes. I have seen that.
Paul says a center who can shoot from 10 to 15 feet could cause Big Ten defenses problems and it could be high value, like Ava shooting an outside shot. My only response to that, Paul, is what has Addison O'Grady been doing all year? If Ava's going to play, it's not because of her ability to shoot 10 to 15 foot jump shots, because Addie O'Grady's been doing that all season long. So I think Ava gives them other things that are worth a discussion. Diego brings up, yes, Paige Beckers. Thank you.
So, okay, come on.
Thank you.
Paige Beckers had a senior night, only to on senior night tell everyone she was coming back. That don't even count. She told them, hey, I'm coming back. Just kidding. On senior night. That was totally planned. The coaches knew about it. It was this whole big thing. That's all I was saying. You can't go through senior night not telling nobody nothing, and then later on after the season, you're like, I'm coming back. What? So that doesn't count. Sorry.
I'm looking through here. I think Caden Weegan was honored on senior day.
Oh, you still talking about football? Football is a whole different sport. Them people are different.
Okay, well, whatever. Cheesy Sutton says, appreciate the show, y'all. Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Tyler says, are you planning on doing a tournament selection show edition from the Hawkeye of the Storm? I'm sure. I don't know about
to do that last year, but we didn't. I don't remember.
We did do that last year. I
don't remember.
We did a show that evening, and we talked about how unfair the bracket was.
You're right.
I remember that conversation. Yeah.
Oh yes, I remember. As soon as you said how fair the bracket was, I remember now.
Susie Q says perhaps Cash can explain why this team looks so good in the second quarter, then looks like they forgot to play in the third. What happens in the locker room at halftime?
Well, I'm not 100% certain what happened in the locker room, but what I do know is they came out flat and they came out very lackadaisical, almost as like, oh, we got this. This might have been easier than we thought it was going to be kind of mindset.
Josh L. Jan does the Temple point and says, good player, good thinking. I've seen that too. You can read her lips on the broadcast. So there's an interesting perspective on, I think, what John was
Josh with the switcheroo there.
T Hink, Corey, what's up with your tweet? Well, here's the reason I just tweeted that out a few minutes ago. I just tweeted out again.
Tweet?
This is why I tweeted this comment right here. Fran yells at the refs, not the players. All right. Without further ado, I present you with a classic GIF that's my favorite from the Fran McCaffrey era, right there. All right. We'll make it a little bit bigger for everybody so people can see.
Oh, I remember. I was like, what Fran you looking at?
This was an Aaron White.
Fran used to be in date. Listen. Fran used to be absolutely giving it. Okay.
He's giving it to everybody on that roster right now.
And what's the redhead name again? Aaron White.
Aaron White.
He got a whole face full of spit right now. A whole face.
Oh, I had to share that. That's a classic.
Oh yeah, Fran used to be in. Woo, I remember that. Oh yeah, that was.
I believe when you were at Iowa was when he got tossed out up at UNI. You probably don't remember that.
Fran was out. Fran was out of pocket back in the day. Fran, relax. You're gonna give yourself a coronary.
Part of me does miss that side of Fran though.
I do. He was fun. He was entertaining.
He's not the same. Now, if it's health issues or people say, well, he's checked out. I've heard there's a comment in the chat. Well, he's been told he's got to watch it because he's got health problems. I don't know. Regardless of what it is, maybe it's a Jack McCaffrey situation. I miss the fiery side of Fran. He just is not the same. Even when he gets after his players, gets after his coach, the officials, he's just not the same. And I will treasure some of those good years. It was fun.
Yeah.
David also giving you a compliment on the hair earlier. So
I did a poll about it the other day. So
let's see here. There was a couple quick things here in the chat before we hit our final people. Missing all kinds of calls here for the show. Cash, did you get my
No, I'm not paying attention. Hold on.
All right. Let's go back to our call line. We've got Tyler who's been waiting on hold. Tyler, welcome to the show.
Good evening, guys. I was asked you.
Hey,
how are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Okay, let me get serious because he's gonna ask me some real thought out, methodical.
Tyler's always bringing.
Go ahead, Tyler. I'm ready.
Questions. Well, actually, I just wanted to talk about John. So I'm kidding.
How about John?
No, I'm kidding. What I was wondering about was I just asked a second ago about, if you're doing a Selection Sunday show, but then as I was sitting here waiting on hold, I'm kind of thinking or asking, are we a shoe-in to get into the tournament quite yet, or are we safe, or is there a possibility that Iowa, barring a large run, we're good?
We good.
Oh,
okay.
Yes. And now, listen, losing to Wisconsin will hurt them dearly. And then if they lose to Wisconsin and lose to Penn State, that would be a horrible.
I still think we're good though. If we take care of what we're supposed to take care of, we're fine.
So what you're saying is that barring like an absolute disaster of biblical proportions and we lose, we're in. Okay.
Even if they lose both games, Tyler, they're in.
Okay. Now, when it comes to where the team is right now, as far as where the Big Ten tournament coming up, and I know it all depends on seeding and that sort of thing, but what would be reasonable for me to expect as a fan, going into the tournament? How far do you guys think they can get?
That depends on where they start. So, if they don't get a bye, I see them winning the first game, winning the second game. Then, depending on who that third game is, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all depends on matchups, and I think part of the reason it depends on matchups, and Iowa's done a really nice job playing against different, stylistically different. UCLA and Michigan are kind of polar opposites as it relates to size and Kachine, and they played
complete difference
well against both of them. I mean, they've been playing well against everybody, adjusting well. We saw Ava Hayden come in as a perfect example. Next person in. If they're shooting the 3-ball like they are right now, Tyler, and limiting turnovers, I know they turned it over 15 times tonight. It didn't feel that bad. They have really cut down on turnovers. Their 3-point shooting has increased. Sydney Falter's rebounding at an exceptionally higher level. She's Big Ten Sydney basically every night now. If they're doing that, they can beat a lot of teams regardless of what team. I think they become less matchup dependent. I don't think that takes a genius to assume. And if people have not seen, I just pulled this up so people can look at it in case they haven't seen the Big Ten bracket. So here is what the Big Ten bracket looks like in the new conference. So let me make sure I have this. Yes, this is the current 2025 with the conference expansion Big Ten tournament bracket. As you can see, only top 15 make it, which means 16, 17, 18 all miss. And if they're the 10th seed,
that's where I see.
Huh?
I said so. Quarterfinals is where I see 50-50, depending on who we play. That's to answer his question.
Yeah. So here is just pull it there. That a little bit bigger for people. I don't know if they can see that very well on their end, but so basically where Kyle was talking about with likely they finish, it sounds like they're going to finish either here at 10 or up here at 9, right? So if you finish at 10, you're going to have to play on day 1 on Thursday, but then you're going to get probably a Michigan State, like Kyle said, and then the 2 seed in the 3rd round who will be coming off a double bye. As opposed to up here, you play on day 2. You don't have to play on day 1. You play a better first opponent, and then you get number 1, UCLA. So it depends on how you look at this. If you're really looking to get elite quad 1 wins on conference tournament weekend, then, hey, go for the bye and aim to beat UCLA and take down the top dog. If you're just looking to – I don't think piling up wins, like them beating Penn State does nothing. But a win against Michigan State would be good. And then would 2 be Maryland? Who's 2 right now, Kachine?
US, one of them. UCLA or USC, one of those is 2.
Well,
and I think Ohio State's 3.
Yeah, you're right.
I know Kyle said earlier that bye doesn't really do much for him, but I'm kind of looking at this right now. I'm seeing that if they don't get the bye, they're going to have to play 5 games in 5 consecutive days. Based upon you guys' informed opinion, does this team have the stamina to possibly be able to pull that up to go all 5 days?
That doesn't happen often. I know the NC State men did it last year. I can count probably on one hand how many times I've seen that done as far as 5 games. Now, it used to be 4 back in the day, but obviously we got more people now, so now it's 5. But that doesn't happen often.
So but real quick, I did misspeak. I think I said first round Thursday. Of course, first round Wednesday.
Okay.
If their first game is on Wednesday, they would have to win 5 in a row. Yes.
Okay. Now you talked earlier about players that are playing particularly well right now with Lucy, with Sydney Fulter being like she was last year late in the season. You talked about the need for Hannah Stolke being able to hit bunnies and the whole team making layups. With all those things on the table, it always seems to me around tournament time that somebody that you don't really expect to get big all of a sudden does something really big for your team. So with that in mind, who from this team needs to get hot in order for us to progress deep into a Big Ten tournament or progress deeper into the NCAA tournament?
That's barring everybody that's hot right now stays hot, is what you're asking?
Yeah,
Then
and obviously with Stolke needing to hit. Oh, go ahead.
That would be Aaliyah Guyton, then. It's the only other person I think can do it. Can be your X factor. So you guys remember, that's the one thing with the March Madness, is people are queuing in on your great players, right? So you've either got to have Aaliyah Guyton, Taylor McCabe. Yeah, one of those two. That's going to have to hit, because remember who beat us in our championship, national championship against LSU? None of their
Carlson.
Right. It was some random person that everybody was like, who the heck?
That's why I asked the question, because it's like, we didn't see her coming. So is there anybody
one of those two? Yeah. But people are cued in on Taylor, though. Like, they are face guarding her. So that's the thing where I think it'll be harder for her, because people are very aware of who Taylor McCabe is. They're very aware of her. So I think the White Knight, technically speaking, that might come out from the woodworks would be a Aaliyah Guyton. But yeah, Taylor McCabe, if she can get going, great, but everybody knows who she is.
I think the White Knight, real quick, the person who is capable of making a bunch of threes is Tegan Mullaney. And I know she's been off all year, Kachine, but like if she came in,
that might be the transparent night. I don't even know if we call it white.
Well, I'm just saying. Well,
she ain't hit a three.
She is a three. I know, but she is a 3-point shooter who's been off all year, and now her minutes have suffered. Huh?
I don't know. Maybe the line is different. Because maybe I thought about that. College line is a little further back now.
No, so come on.
Maybe she needs to adjust. I don't know, but God, that would be, like I said, transparent night. That would be out of left field.
Not getting many minutes right now, but I'm just saying, if she came into a game and hit like 2 threes, because she's somebody ain't gonna be showing up on people's scouting reports.
Well, you're right. You know what? You're right. Maybe
making threes.
I don't feel too good about that, though. If for us to win something will go far as her.
Well, if they're dependent on that, then
yeah.
Tyler, anything else before we let you slide?
Yeah, just one last question. I was talking with some people at work about the overall landscape of the tournament. Last year, I think a lot of us pretty much knew that it was South Carolina's to lose. This year, we don't have anything like that, and March Madness is really going to be nuts. Is there any reason why Iowa? Is the landscape would have such parity right now that it wouldn't be unreasonable for us to suggest that Iowa, depending on what they draw as a seed, could make it out of the first weekend?
They can make it out of the first.
They can make it out of the first weekend.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How far do you think they can go?
Honestly, the expectation for me, if they get to a 6 seed with how they're playing, because let's not forget, they just nearly beat 2 top 10 teams back to back. Now they lost both, right? But they also beat USC early in the year. To me, they've proven they can hang with just about anybody. If they get the right matchup, I think they could make it to the Elite Eight if they get the right matchup in the third round in the Sweet 16. Now, do I think that's going to happen?
I ain't that far, but
I'm not going to go that far. But I'm just saying, I think that's probably my ceiling. You could say anything other than national championship is a ceiling, but no, I think they're an Elite Eight team with the right matchup. I think it's just going to be, again, if they're a 7, which 7 are they? And if they're a 6, which 6 are they? Because I still think matchups, even though they're
in their
quad.
In their quad, yeah.
Yeah. Well, in their region,
region.
Yep.
Well, that's all I had, except to say one thing. I'm never going to stop being mad about that bad call against Lucy Olson on that moving screen. I can't help but think. Yeah, I can't help but think of what things could have been like and what we're discussing right now if it hadn't been for that. But other than that, I look forward to the tournament, and we will talk to you guys later. Have a great rest of the show.
Thank you, sir. All right. Sponsor the show, folks, if you're interested as we head count down the days to March Madness. Info at FromTheHawkeyeOfTheStorm.com to inquire. Info at FromTheHawkeyeOfTheStorm.com. Ex-Deegan Gambler super sticker. Thank you for the donation. Much appreciated there. Carly says, do you think Strimlo just needs a good summer to work on her offensive game? Love her hustle. She's a good ball handler. Gives us nothing on offense.
Absolutely.
She's got to figure out what she can. She doesn't have to be a great three-point shooter. She doesn't have to be a great mid-range.
Somebody once told me all you got to do is make 1 out of 3. That's it. Because all you have to,
nothing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said all you got to do is make 1 out of 3. You have to make the defense think you're capable. Don't mean you got to shoot it. But as long as they think you're capable, it gives you the space to do what you want to do.
You know whose offensive game I would study if I was Taylor Strimlo? Molly Davis. She is bigger than Molly Davis is, but Molly had to overcome her size and figure out a way to be semi-effective on offense. She found that by, to me, she was.
Yeah, but she's way craftier though.
Who's way craftier?
Molly.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I think you're underestimating Taylor's craftiness that's not been on display because of some of the mistakes she saw. I think she's cleaned up her game a lot, but we saw earlier in the year, she was aggressive. She's got a great feel for the ball. She's a great passer. She's got great vision. I think she can be a better version of what Molly Davis was. I really do.
Yeah, I don't know about it like that, but I hear you.
She got better size. That's why I guess Molly was exceptional finding space.
I don't think she's ever going to be Molly in the aspect of that craftiness because Molly was so sneaky athletic. She's like hanging in the air. Like her movement is different than Strimlo. Strimlo's very but she has a lot of athleticness in her a little bit, but they're just two different players for me.
Yeah, both her parents played college basketball. She's got good genes. I think she's a better athlete than maybe we realize, but
I agree. I think she's got, her passing and things like that are definitely going to shine through next year.
All right, we're going to finish off with a brief preview of Wisconsin. But first, our final word of the night is from Nick, who says, where is Corey the caller? There he is. You're here. Corey, hey, you got anything to say to our good friend John that called in earlier?
Well, first off, what are the odds Beth is waiting for Jan in her office and asking for her resignation? What are the odds?
What are the odds, Corey? You tell us. What are the odds?
Somewhere between slim and none, but I'm.
And Slim left town, as Hayden Fry would say. Yep.
I shouldn't be this way. I don't mean to be judgmental towards John. He has
Love you, John.
He has good intentions, but if you want to equate Jan to a certain coach that's legendary early on in her career and her mannerisms and the way she treats her players, she's like a Tom Izzo light. Like Tom's like, kind of like wincing in pain, like, why? And Jan's not even near that scale. So I just think we're a little bit hypersensitive towards Jan. Why is she a woman? She's supposed to be a mother figure, and I don't know. Anyway, but double standard or something.
Supposed to be a mother. I like that one. That's a new theory. That's why that people. Fran's supposed to be a father. So what's the difference?
I don't know. But anyway, we get into the tournament. I need a prediction out of you, Corey, and out of you, and Cash. I think I know your prediction. You pretty much already shared it, but okay, I'm taking away I'm taking away the starting 5, and I'm taking away McCabe. Who's going to be the X factor that's going to score, that's going to, and I'm talking about in the tournament. If we make any type of a run, who's it going to be?
Which
Is it going to be
Big Ten or March Madness?
I don't care about Big Ten. March Madness. Who's going to be your X factor? Is it Tegan Mullaney? Is it Aaliyah Guyton? Is it Stremlow? Is it
Edgar?
What? Ava? Who's your X factor that you're gonna? So we can look back on this tape and
Okay.
see who was right and who was wrong. Who's your X factor? Who's going to take us?
It's Aaliyah Guyton for me. If you're picking one person off the bench to step up and be that X factor, to me, it's Aaliyah Guyton. Because I think I don't consider Addie to be an X factor. To me, she needs to play well for them to be good. Like she needs, because there's going to be games where they need her. I don't know about Aaliyah Guyton. I don't know if there's going to be games when they need her, but I do think that in big moments she could be an X factor. Cash.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Did you say you took away Addie?
Well, no, I meant I wanted her to be included as a starter, quote unquote.
Oh, okay. So Addie is no starters, and Addie is not an option.
Right.
Okay, then yeah, I'm gonna go with Aaliyah Guyton. Heck, I might even go with Ava, depending on the situation.
And I think everybody knows this, that Guyton is our girl. If we're gonna do anything special in this tournament, we're gonna need, just as Iowa had Sydney Falter stepped up, and she was a little bit of an X factor. That was critical. I think Aaliyah Guyton's got to be the one. We got to get her tuned up and ready to roll. Somehow get her confidence back. If you're Jan, are you thinking about ways to try to get her in situations where we could get her confidence rolling again? I mean, don't you think there's huge upsides to getting her rolling again?
I'm sure they are.
Because if you recall, she was so many times when we hit these big lulls in games, they'd kick it over to her, free throw line extended, she'd smoke a 3 and our 2 consecutive 3s and totally shift momentum. And then maybe drive one, on top of it once they come out to cover. So to me, that's so huge and so important, especially tournament time when they're putting all the pressure on. The other thing is, wouldn't you say in tournament time, guards get more exhausted? There's more pressure on ball handling guards than anyone. You're going to absolutely need Aaliyah Guyton to be able to handle the ball, to be able to take the reins and not just not make a turnover, but to be productive.
I agree with you, Corey, and I want to know, is that Cody brings it up in the chat? Is that a ray of sunshine on you, or is there an alien abduction taking place?
It's
a beam. I see a beam. You've been beamed.
It's like my somewhat deep fake on a ray of an alien spaceship, kind of like your beep on the fake answering machine.
Yeah, well, but that actually accomplished something. I don't know what this accomplishes other than us distracting us from your beautiful speech. So anyway, Corey, I got to let you, Corey, because I got to let Kachine go to any final comment. You got a final comment for Cash Money?
Final comment is I'm really frustrated. We have people in the chat. They're obviously wrestling fans. Spencer Lee wrestled tonight against Ono. This was like the Olympics 2.0. and not one person has shared the outcome of that. I know some of you people know. There were some wrestling fans in here. Casey that was in here. Shame on you, Casey, for not sharing this with us. What the outcome of Spencer Lee over in Coralville. This is Wrestletown, USA.
This is so very random. That name sounds very familiar. I feel like I saw him on Twitter, but I feel like it was his mom I saw. Is that the lady that be going crazy?
You talking about Spencer Lee's mom when she bent her glass? She broke her.
Iowa wrestling.
I need to meet her.
Now listen.
He's one of the greatest wrestlers in Iowa history, Kachine.
Is he now?
Yes.
That says a lot because there's some great Iowa wrestlers that have come through that program.
Well, he just won the silver medal in the Olympics, and he'll probably win it. I'm going next Olympics in LA. In LA, I'm going. My buddies are. We got it all planned out. I'm gonna watch Spencer Lee wrestle in the Olympics. Anyway,
hey Corey.
Hey, lastly,
we love you. That's the last thing. We love you.
Hey,
we all love you, Corey. All right, every one of us, including those in the chat.
Hey, lastly, NFL draft. Hawkeyes in the NFL draft.
Yes, that's a
Are you gonna do? Gonna do?
Yes.
Are you? What about the combine? You gonna do a combine review with Caleb Johnson, Jay Higgins?
Combine. When is the combine?
This
April?
Week, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. People in the chat.
March. It's in March. I thought it was in April. The draft is in April. I know, but
they're down there. They're already interviewing Jay Higgins today.
My head off now. All right, I'll.
We need a show out of you. Come on, brother.
Corey, we appreciate you always.
You took a break last night. Kachine.
Okay.
Break.
All right.
Kachine, your hair looks better than Corey's. I mean, it looks far better than Corey's. Don't let his arrogance.
Don't talk about yourself that way, Corey. All right.
Good night. Go Hawkeyes.
Go Hawks. Absolutely. The Hawkeyes defeating Michigan. Final score 79-66, behind a tremendous performance from Sydney Falter on the offensive end. 24 points to go along with 11 rebounds, 9 of 12 from the field, 4 of 4 from 3, made 2 of 3 from the foul line. Hannah Stolke added 13 points, 5 of 6 from the foul line, 4 field goals made for Hannah. Lucy Olson, 20 points, also in double figures, 8 of 16 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3. The Hawkeyes shooting in that first half, making 9 threes, 9 of 12 from 3 in the first half. They shot 53% from the field. And I'm sorry, 10 for, excuse me, I might have these stats totally off. Let me recount this. They were 53% for the game from the field, made 10 threes on the night, 56% from 3 on the night. As it relates to the first half, the Hawkeyes shot 75%, 9 of 12. I was looking for that stat. 9 of 12 from the three-point arc in that first half for Iowa. Dealt with a third quarter onslaught for Michigan. Michigan cut the lead to 6 at one point, but the Hawkeyes kept pushing and won the game on the defensive end, holding the Wolverines to 10 points in the fourth quarter. And they win. Final score 79-66. They'll move on to take on the Wisconsin Badgers this Sunday. Senior night in Carver-Hawkeye Arena. Kachine, one of the questions in the chat. First of all, Greg, thank you for the super sticker. It does it. I can't see the super sticker on my end. It's a YouTube thing, so StreamYard won't show me, but we do appreciate your donation. Yes, go Hawks, absolutely. Patrick wants to know about Sarah Williams. She is somebody that I wish that she had entered the transfer portal either last year or the year before, because Iowa could have used a post like Sarah Williams. I'm surprised she hasn't left Wisconsin. She must love it there because that's not a very good program. They're not very good again this year. What's the key for Iowa to deal with her, and does it matter? Are they good enough? Even if Sarah Williams goes off, are they good enough to beat Iowa in Carver?
No, not if we play our game. I don't think that they are good enough to beat us.
So what's the key for senior night? What do you think the key is for the team?
Senior night's filled with emotions. Senior night is an up in the air kind of thing. All coaches hate senior night because it's always unpredictable because of the emotions that's behind it. It could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. Sorry, I'm sure y'all did not want to hear that truth, but it all coaches hate senior night, and trying to figure out if you should do senior night before, after, what get it out the way. What do you do? So it's always that kind of game where you're like, oh God, let's pray, kind of thing. So I hope they come out and just have the fire and kind of like, let's end this well, because they ended the second half of the Big Ten season extremely well. So finish it off.
And if I'm not mistaken, last year, because it's crazy that I can't remember this, but last year Molly Davis went down with that really injury on senior day. Yeah. And did they win that game? Did they lose that game? Man, I can't remember
that. Won that game.
They did win that game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it will be interesting because you believe that if a player goes through, at least in the women's game, if a player goes through senior day festivities, that means they're leaving. So if Kylie,
the only way I would have been like, is if it's like a Caitlin Clark kind of person, where if she would have went through senior night and didn't give us a decision, I'd have been like, well, she could do that. So we're all sit here and wait. But Kylie, she gonna know beforehand.
Well, Kylie has not publicly, unless she said it after the game tonight, she's not said anything publicly about it. So it makes me wonder, do we hear an announcement? Because if you're right, if participating in senior day festivities, which again, for anybody because I'm probably going to post this segment and post it to the channel here, so people aren't going to hear what I said earlier. I know there have been examples on the football field of players going through senior day festivities and then coming back. So I don't think that's unheard of.
It's not unheard of. It just doesn't happen often. And then for you to be this, I'm not gonna say what I'm gonna say since you posted it, but for you to be not a Caitlin Clark,
sure,
or a Paige Beckers, or you get what I'm saying? Yeah, then that usually doesn't happen.
Yeah, and by the way, it doesn't apply to. I see somebody in the chat bringing up Tomi Taiwo. She transferred after I think she probably went through senior day festivities. That's different. That's if you're a senior another year, like Riley Mulvey, I could see that happening with him this year on the men's side. He's another year left if he wants it. I don't know that he'll have a spot at Iowa, so he'll go through senior day festivities this year. Mm-hmm. I think he'll probably try to play somewhere else. We'll see. But this is a Wisconsin team that is bottom of the Big Ten, bottom 3 in the Big Ten. They are not going to make the Big Ten tournament.
Has anyone in the Big Ten not won a game?
And hold on, excuse me, I'm misspeaking on that. I forgot how bad Penn State, Rutgers, and Northwestern are, and Purdue. Ooh. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Badger fans. They've won 4 games. They are bad, but they're not that bad. The bottom of this conference is really bad, so they will make the Big Ten tournament. The bottom of this conference is horrific, Kachine. When you talk about Purdue, Northwestern, Rutgers, and Penn State, those two, you have 4 teams with 2 wins or less.
I mean, the Big Ten conference, there's a big, there's your really good, right? And then the middle is like all mucked up, and it's just, we're all kind of like in the middle. And it's a big, long list of in the middle. And then there's a really big drop off.
What's interesting on the men's side is the worst team in the conference is Washington, and they have as many wins as Wisconsin has on the women's side. They have 4 wins. And right above them is 5-win Penn State, 6-win Northwestern, 6-win Iowa, 6-win USC, 6-win Minnesota. There's just a little bit more parity at the bottom of the league side. So this is not a good Wisconsin team. Sarah Williams is a talented post.
Very much so.
And I'm assuming, have they played this week yet? Do we know what their schedule is this week? Because I'm assuming she is a senior, correct?
That I don't know. But I'll find out.
She is a junior. She's a junior for Wisconsin. So she's got 1 more year left. It'll be interesting to see if she sticks around for her final season. Yeah. So apparently they played UCLA today and got throttled. So we'll see what happens on Sunday. Hawkeyes and the Badgers. 3 p.m. Central Time tip on Peacock. And we'll have post-game coverage right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Kachine, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for sticking around as long as you did. I know you got things to do and places to be and Z's to sleep. So thank you for being here, and we'll hope to chat with you after the senior day win on Sunday.
Yes. Hopefully I can get my internet working before then.
So you got a big week in front of
Got
you.
a big move. Yeah.
On that, we'll be thinking of you and hope for safe travels and a safe transition. Folks, for Kachine Alexander, I'm Corey Bratta from the Hawkeye of the Storm. If you're interested in sponsorship, email the email at the bottom of the screen, and we will talk to you Sunday.